Are we about to see one of the NFL's most gifted tight ends, Kyle Pitts, traded away just as the Falcons start to rise? Sounds crazy, right? But in a week where Ramsey's a Steeler, Minka's back in Miami, and Waller's unretired, nothing's off the table. This league just flipped upside down, and Kyle Pitts might be next. Buckle up. Are we seriously going down this road again? Just when it felt like things were finally calming down, just when Falcons fans were starting to relax, the NFL world throws another curveball. And this time, it's aimed straight at Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I know, Falcons fans are tired. You've heard this story before. The trade rumors, the endless chatter, the doubts about his future in Atlanta, it's exhausting. And honestly, I didn't plan to talk about this today either. But after the wild NFL moves we just witnessed over the last 48 hours, there's no way we can ignore what's happening. Let's go down the list. Jalen Ramsey, out of nowhere, traded to the Steelers. Minka Fitzpatrick, back with the Dolphins. Darren Waller, literally comes out of retirement to join Miami. These aren't just any players. We're talking Pro Bowlers, all pros, game changers. And it's all happening in late June, a time when the NFL is usually quiet. This league doesn't sleep anymore, and that means no player is ever really safe. So now, the whispers about Kyle Pitts? They suddenly don't feel so far-fetched. In fact, the spark that reignited all this came from a tweet, yes, a single tweet, from Dolphins analyst Nick Roloff, who casually suggested that Miami might be picking up the phone to ask about Pitts. That's all it takes to set the internet on fire. And here's the thing, if the Dolphins can make shocking moves like bringing back Minka and pulling Waller off the couch, why wouldn't they take a swing at a talent like Kyle Pitts? Let's be honest. Right now, I don't think the Falcons are actively trying to trade him. I believe they still see him as a key part of this offense. But that doesn't mean he's untouchable. This is the NFL. We've seen too much to say never. If a team like Miami offers the right deal, something huge, something bold, the Falcons front office would have to at least listen. Because in today's league, stars move faster than ever. Still, if you're asking me to bet, I'd say no, a trade probably won't happen. The Falcons aren't desperate, and the Dolphins may not be crazy enough to empty the vault. But again, I didn't wake up expecting Jalen Ramsey in black and yellow either. The lesson? Anything is possible in the NFL. Falcons fans, how would you feel if Kyle Pitts was traded? Be honest. Would it be smart long-term or a huge mistake? And Dolphins fans, would you go all in to get him? Drop your take in the comments. Let's see who's riding the trade wave and who's slamming the brakes. Is this the end of Kyle Pitts in Atlanta? A former top 5 pick, a freak of nature at tight end, now on the trade block for just a 4th round pick? Something's not adding up, and fans are furious. The Falcons are walking a tightrope between building for the future and risking it all. And if they make the wrong move, it could destroy their young quarterback's career before it even begins. Let's break down the chaos, the rumors, and what this all really means, because this story is just getting started. Yeah. Let's get right to it. There's a real buzz around the league right now, and it centers on Kyle Pitts. Some say a trade might actually happen, but let's be real. If the Falcons are only being offered a 4th round draft pick, that deal makes almost no sense. Yes, there's a tiny chance, a whisper, really, that Atlanta could move Pitts. But it would take desperation or a total front office panic to accept something so low in return. Let's dig into why. If the Falcons trade Pitts now and get a 4th round pick for next year, that player won't help them at all this season. That pick is still out there, probably running routes in college somewhere. He won't touch an NFL field until 2026. So in 2025, you've got nothing. Now, let's say Atlanta doesn't trade Pitts. They let him play out his contract. You get one more season of his talent on the field, a real weapon for your rookie QB, Michael Penix Jr. Then, when Pitts leaves in free agency, you could still receive a compensatory pick, possibly a 5th rounder in the 2027 draft. So now you're choosing between 2 options. Trade him now and get a 4th round pick in 2026, or let him play, help your QB, and maybe get a fifth rounder a year later. Either way, you're talking about future picks, but only one option gives you Kyle Pitts' production this season. Here's the thing, Pitts may not be putting up monster numbers like he did in college, but he's still a matchup nightmare. And in a season where the Falcons are trying to develop a brand new franchise quarterback, trading away a talent like Pitts could seriously damage that progress. Imagine being Terry Fontenot, Falcons GM, who's already under pressure after 4 straight losing seasons. Would you really risk weakening your offense and stalling Penix Jr.'s growth just for a 4th-round pick? Let's say the Dolphins come calling. They say, "We'll give you a 4th for Pitts." Would you take it? If I'm Fontenot, honestly, I pause. I think hard. Because Pitts might not be a long-term Falcon. But in 2025, he might be the key to everything. Now it's your turn. What would you do if you were Atlanta? Would you trade Pitts now for a 4th-round pick? Or keep him and help your young QB grow? Drop your take in the comments below and tell us, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in Michael Penix Jr. right now? Let's hear it, Falcons fans. Alright, let's say the Dolphins call up the Falcons and say, "We're not backing down this season. We don't want just any tight end, we want Kyle Pitts." We believe Pitts and Tua could be the perfect duo. As the Falcons GM, I sit back and think, okay, now we're talking business. But here's the deal, a 4th-round pick isn't going to cut it. You want Pitts? The conversation starts at a 3rd-round pick, minimum. Why? Because the Falcons are already going into next year's draft with major limitations. They don't have a 1st-round pick. They gave it up to trade up for pass rusher James Pierce. They also don't have a 5th because they moved up to grab safety Xavier Watts. So heading into 2026, Atlanta only holds a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounder in the top 5 rounds. That's it. Trading Pitts for a 4th rounder just adds to the pain. That pick isn't helping you now, and it barely helps you later. Look, I know Pitts hasn't lived up to the insane hype he came into the league with. Less than 1,000 yards in 3 years, never more than 4 touchdowns in a season. That's not what fans expected from a top 5 draft pick. But still, this is a young, athletic, freak of nature tight end, and I'm not giving him up for cheap change in return. If you want him mid-season, when it's too late to use cap space on a free agent. If I can't turn that move into something tangible right now for our young QB Michael Penix Jr., then you've got to overpay. So yeah, give me a 3rd-rounder. Even if that sounds crazy based on the numbers. Even if no tight end with this kind of stat line has ever been traded for a 3rd-round pick, that's the price. And if the Dolphins somehow say yes, if they agree to send over that 3rd, then I do it. Yes, it's a risk. It could hurt Penix Jr.'s development. But I'm putting my trust in Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Ray McCloud to carry more of the load. I'm not going to be too afraid to make a bold move just because it rocks the boat. Sometimes, to build a stronger future, you've got to take a step back first. A 3rd-rounder for Pitts? It's not perfect, but it might be the best we're going to get. Now it's your turn to be GM. Would you take a 3rd-round pick for Kyle Pitts? Or do you hold out and ride it out with him one more year? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe trading Pitts would be a huge mistake or a smart long-term move? Let us know below and don't hold back. Falcons fans, we want to hear your fire.